there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. The Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey everyone, this is Dani of Psycho Village, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father. And as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today it's an honor and a privilege to have Dani Wagner, vocalist and guitarist of Psycho Village. Psycho Village has released their album Unstoppable via Pavement Entertainment, which is out now. And also this has been released over in Germany in 2019. So we're going to be talking to Dani about all this good stuff. So Dani, welcome to the show, and how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm very good. How are you?
Doing awesome. Glad to have you on here and talk about this new album and Psycho Village's music and everything. So let's jump right into this, good sir. How's it been working with Pavement Entertainment so far for you guys?
Oh man, it's been going good so far. I mean, the record's just been out for 3 days, so there's not much to complain as of now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to working with them and working the album really hard, and yeah, just nothing to complain so far. So everything's been going good.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Unstoppable, this album was released in Germany in 2019 and now is released in the U.S. How does it feel to have an album released in the U.S. and over in Germany as well, man? Because, I mean, this is a lot of work for you guys to get this out. So how does it feel?
Well, it's great that it's finally now out worldwide. I mean, as you mentioned, we've released the record all over Europe and the UK, actually, back in late September of last year. And just started touring the day before the record came out. So we've been non-stop on the road. I think we've had 2 or 3 weeks off over the Christmas break. And just until March 12th, I think, we were constantly on the road. So we've been touring for 5 months on this record, basically playing 5-6 shows a week. And it's been a blast, man. The record's been received very well. A lot of new songs that our European fans really do like of that record. And yeah, it feels good that it's finally out now in the US with a US team, and can't wait to come to the US and tour it here as soon as we can.
What's impressed or excited you the most about making the album Unstoppable, if anything, Dani? Is there anything that stands out for you about this album that excites you the most?
Yeah, I mean, the record basically was recorded and inspired and, written through our touring. We've basically left our homes in mid-2017 and just been home for the longest, I think, was 5 or 6 weeks before we hit the road back in 2017. So we've been touring a lot. We've been touring with a lot of our childhood dream bands and people and bands that we've looked up to, like Nothing More, Saving Abel, Puddle of Mud, you name it. And a lot of those road stories have inspired that album. For example, we're kind of infamous for crashing buses, but it's not really our fault, right? So, for example, I'll tell you a story. Like I'll tell that story on stage basically every show right before we play the title track Unstoppable, because the whole record and especially the single is basically about that. We've had so many letdowns and so many pushbacks throughout these past 3 years. We played Birmingham, man, and we in the UK, and while we were having breakfast, the housekeeper that was meant to make our beds robbed us and stole £6,000 or £7,000 of our pockets of the touring money we've collected throughout the past 2 months before that. Luckily, we found the guy and found the money. Then the same tour, our bus caught on fire. Then a couple of weeks later, after that, that's back in 2018, we were touring with Puddle of Mud in Germany, and somewhere on the German highway, a car was trying to overtake us, crashed in the side of a tour bus, flopped the trailer over. The roof broke open, and all our gear and all of Puddle of Mud's gear that was on our trailer too spread on 4 lines on the German highway. Luckily, no one was hurt, and most of the gear wasn't damaged too bad. And we still made the show, but we still had to drive 7 hours with a broken van and no trailer. And the story just continues. Just on this last tour that we've done with The Calling from the US, that was a 52-show tour all over Europe and the UK. We've had, I think, two of the trailers broke, and then on the second or third day, the bus we were on with The Calling had an oil leak, and then the window broke, and just so much stuff happened on the tour. And we just never gave up. We dug through, we kept going, and that's basically what that whole album represents and is about. And that's the whole message that we try to get across, that no matter what, pulls you down, there's always a reason to go forward and to push through. Holy
shit. You had your money stolen, then the bus, the accident and things like that. That's insane, man. Jesus.
Yeah, and that's like a quarter of the stories we've had on that level, Not leaving aside all the other stuff that usually happens on tour, but the bus was on fire like 2 or 3 times. We were robbed. We had a big car crash, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that was the God saying no. Jeez, that's crazy. That is so crazy.
Yeah,
man. How long did it take to write and complete this album for you guys?
I mean, quite some while. I mean, the record has been done pretty much for just over a year at this point, or basically back in late 2018 the record was finished. But during that tour and we want to release it under our own label. We've always been independent. We never had a label. We never had any, or till this day, we don't have any management. We don't have any booking agency. We're doing it all ourselves, and we wanted to do this with the record the same way. And during the tour with Saving Abel, their bass player during one of the shows was like, Danny, he was right going on stage, and he was like, Danny, I just saw your show. We seriously need to talk. And when one of the main guys in the headlining band tells that to you, either you're in big trouble or he's trying to help you. Luckily he liked the show and he was trying to help us. So he actually hooked us up with Pavement Entertainment. And we started negotiations. That took like 2 or 3 months, and then I flew over to Chicago to sign the record deal back in late 2018. But the record's been done at this point. And then we started sending it out to European labels. And then we signed to a European label called Savannas Media Group and signed to them in May 2019. And finally the record came out in Europe in September, and now it's out in the US. And that stuff takes a long time to get all the teams and get all the contracts and negotiations. So it's been a long time coming, but we're really excited that it's finally out now.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know these are your babies. I know this must change every time you listen to it or talk about it, but what are some that stick out for you possibly other than Unstoppable?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, as you mentioned, obviously Unstoppable, and I gave you the reason why. One other track that's really dear to our hearts and very emotional to us is a song called It's Okay, which might be actually the softest song that I've ever written, and that is on the record. But that happened to be the first big radio hit, if you will, in Austria. That's been released a couple of years back, but it was top 10 on iTunes and top 40 on the radio charts and #1 song of Austrian artists played and all that cool stuff. But the message behind that song is a very interesting one, because a long time ago, back in 2012, 2013 maybe, one of the bigger local shows that we played back then, right before we started touring internationally and trying to do it professionally. Back when I was in school, I was 17 back then. Mm-hmm. We played a bigger show in like one of the main big clubs in Vienna, and after the show, this girl went up to me, and she was like, I need to tell you something. This show was very special to me, and I just wanted to thank you. And me being 17 back then, I'm like, this is interesting. No one's ever told me that. May I ask why? And she's telling me the story of how her whole life is basically messed up. Like, she's in a very, she doesn't get along too well with her parents. She's kind of afraid of her father. She had a, kind of abusive father. And she's been bullied at school. She has a certain medical condition that she's never going to be able to make a driving license. It just continues, and it's just a whole mess. And I'm very touched by that. And I'm like, dude, it's amazing that you tell me that, but wow, I don't know what to say, right? And she's like, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I just want to tell you in those 45 minutes that I've seen you on stage, but she's telling me I was able to forget like my whole messed up life. I was just able to enjoy my life for the first time in a long time for these 45 minutes. And I'm to this day, I'm extremely touched by that, because you don't hear that too often as a songwriter, period. And then especially not when you're 17. And that kind of changed the whole perspective of why I'm and this band is writing songs. Because we try to touch people, we try to help people, and we don't write songs about, going out and partying and having a great time. I mean, there are a lot of bands that do that. And there's always, maybe at some point we're going to write a song like that. But, if you hear something like that on such an emotional basis, you try to write songs that actually have a meaning and actually tell a story and try to replicate that. And that's kind of what the whole song It's Okay inspired back then. And to this day, it just translates to the crowd we play to, no matter how big or small they are. In a way, like everyone is singing along with that song, even if they've never heard the song before. And that's just one of the main songs that kind of people gravitate towards too. So Unstoppable and then this song It's Okay would be the two songs that will probably always be in a Psycholoid set list.
It's like I've always said, man, the power of music. Music is a voice. Music is an escape. Music is, again, a voice for each and every single one of us. There's a song out there for everybody that they gravitate to. So kudos for you guys to helping that young lady out through this, man.
Yeah, I mean, it can be an escape to everything. It can, as I said, it can be your anthem to go out and party with your friends, but then also it can touch on a very dark and dark topic, and that's kind of what we accomplished with some songs, and that's kind of the path we decided we want to go along with. We try to pick out certain topics and certain things that we think isn't right and that we think should be talked about, and we talk about it and try to say it in our words and or tell a story out of our perspective that we think people should think about. And yeah.
Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs? Which one would be the first single you wanted to release for the album, or no?
I mean, luckily we were able to try the record over in Europe, where we obviously have a quite big fan base, and we've been touring a lot. So we kind of, decided on between actually 2 or 3 songs, but whatever translated live the best during these past 5-6 months of touring the record over in Europe and the UK. Unstoppable was one that really stuck out, so we decided to go with that.
Were there any songs that did not make this album that we could see down the road on another EP or a full length from you guys that didn't make this album?
Yeah, there are a couple. Originally, we planned to not to release a full length album, but to record enough material to put out 2 EPs, like back to back within 1 year, like every 6 months. But then with the record deals and so on, we obviously had to go along the path with full-length albums. So there are actually maybe 3 or 4 songs that didn't make the album, but I'm sure at least 2 or 3 of those will make it on the next release, whatever that is. If that's an EP or full-length album, we don't know yet. But yeah, there's still some material from this album. There's already new material that's being written right now. And yeah, we're looking forward to lots and lots of great music.
Writing these songs, Dani, does it challenge you or push you guys to come up with something new and stay fresh with your music? Does it push you out of that box or your comfort zone?
I'm trying to change things up all the time. I don't like repeating or trying to write the same song again that I've already written. I'm constantly trying to find new music and new bands and get freshly inspired by new music myself. So I'm hardly listening to the same album for a long period. The longest I'll probably listen to a song or record is maybe like 2 months, and then I'll try to find the next new thing. And that pushes me and that inspires me because, a lot of bands try different things and new sounds, and that's all inspiring me. And for example, I love the new stuff that Falling in Reverse and Bring Me the Horizon just put out, trying to put in new sounds that haven't been heard in rock music for a long time or even ever before, because it's genres that usually don't mix up too well, or people are a bit afraid of mixing up. Like, for example, we're Falling in Reverse, putting in rap music and then electronic sounds, or even pushing it back and doing more of an acoustic stuff. So that stuff is always inspiring me, and I try to to take some of those elements and take them into the arrangements of the songs and to make it sound new and fresh, at least to me. And if I accomplish that or not, that's a whole different question.
Who produced this album? Did you guys produce it, or who actually did it?
I've been producing most of the songs myself with the help of our producer and longtime friend called Gwen Elderman. I started working with him back in 2013 for the first time, and he's kind of done and helped to produce all the stuff that we've released and recorded since then. And actually, at this point, we're so close, we actually have a studio together now, which is, oddly enough, which is in my basement, but it's a proper, full, nice studio that we have big production tent. And he just started mixing a new song for The Calling that may end up on their next record. And he's done some big stuff. He's played bass for Jim Marshall from Marshall Amps, big figures like that. So it's great having a close friend and producing partner like that. And I've learned a lot from him, and I try to, put in some newer and fresher elements that he's probably hasn't heard yet because it's such a new band that he usually wouldn't listen to. And then he's bringing all the experience and songwriting experience. So it's kind of a collaboration. But songs like Unstoppable and Shine on Us, Chasing the Sun, and so on have been completely produced by me. And then songs like It's Okay and some other songs on the record, he's put in his influences. So I would say it's about half-half. And then he's mixed and also mastered the whole record. And yeah, I'm really happy to have him in my team.
So working with him, though, Danny, does he get that extra effort out of you guys that maybe somebody else may not have gotten possibly?
I mean, he's always pushing. He's French, and I'm saying that because he's from his attitude. He's sometimes hard to work with, which is also great because he's like, he's very demanding, especially when I sing, and he's like, he isn't afraid to tell me that what I've just done is complete horseshit. So yeah, which happens, which happens if you already sung 10 songs in a row and your voice isn't just raspy, but you just can't hit the high notes anymore. He'll straight up tell you, go out, take fucking vocal lessons or something, or just get out of the studio. But then again, and we fight, man. We do fight, and sometimes we're like a married couple at times. We don't talk for a couple of days, and then we go back to the studio, and everyone's cool, and there's no bad blood, and then I try and do it again. And he tells me again that it's shit, and then the third time it's usually all right.
Who did the artwork for the cover of this album?
A good friend of mine. He's done a lot of the graphic stuff for us, and actually there's an interesting story to that cover, because we had, I don't know if you have just the digital copy or the physical copy, but if you have the physical copy, on the back side there's that triangle thing that we have, and then also on the physical, like, round CD itself. And that used to be the original cover when we did a test pressing back in 2018. And then I played her the record and showed her the record, and she kind of came up with that new with the new cover of the record after we've pressed 1,000 CDs. And she listened to that album, and that kind of was the cover that you have now, that skeleton with the gas mask, was kind of her visual representation of what you get out of listening to it. So after we pressed 1,000 of these CDs, she came up to us and was like, "Listen, guys, I know you just finished the record and pressed the record to sell it, but I have this new cover. Just have a look at it." And I was like, "That's genius. That just looks so much better than the original cover. Let's just use that." So we have a test pressing of 1,000 copies that actually mostly have been sold at this point. And then there's the official version of the record that is now out in the US and also out in the stores in Europe and the UK. So there's two versions of the visual side of the record. And yeah, I'm very happy with how the thing turned out in the end.
Do you see this band still musically growing from the EP Fairy Tale Part 1 to the full-length album Unstoppable? Do you see a huge growth musically between this band?
I would like to think so. I mean, we've definitely put in stuff and influences that maybe back when we recorded Fairy Tale, either we were a bit too afraid to kind of go in that direction, or we didn't fully understand influences and bands that were trying to do that. But at this point, we didn't really set any boundaries to ourselves. And then also, obviously, songwriting-wise, we've grown. we know some more tricks and hints that how to arrange songs and, how the blueprint of this and that song kind of works. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we always try to write it like that, but it's good to know the basics. And then once you know those and once you have those down, you can go out and explore and, try to come up with something new. So we've definitely grown since the release of Fairy Tale back in 2014, that's for sure.
What do you hope everyone takes away, or a message you hope they hear while listening to any of Psycho Village's music in general? Dani, what do you hope they get from it?
As I said, the whole record is just basically representing hope and trying to push through and overcoming negative emotions, experiences, whatever it is, and whatever context it is. It's just about, there's always a reason to go forward, to, overcome any issues and to just keep going forward and pushing through. No matter if it's a bus crash on a highway or if it's, an abusive father or whatever it is, there's always someone there for you that actually needs you and wants you in their life. And there's always a reason to go forward. And that's basically the whole core message of the album. And every song tells a certain version of that whole overall vision and story.
What can fans expect at a show from Psycho Village who have not got to see you guys live as of yet? What are they going to get when they come to see you?
The live show, we jump around a lot, man. We try to, it's just a three-piece, or saying just a three-piece. We are three guys on stage, but we try to make you feel like you have the whole full stadium production as much as we can. We jump around a lot. We tell stories in between the songs. We have a whole production with us. We have 2 video projections on each side of the drum set that shows visual representations of the songs, lyric videos, music videos, whatever it is. During one song called Half Caste Symphony, that's usually the last song of the record, we show the video Amanda Todd made, if you still remember her. If not, she's been that 14 or 15-year-old Canadian girl that unfortunately committed suicide due to cyberbullying. So we're trying to get that message across and actually use her video to raise awareness for that. And she made a video a couple of days before she committed suicide with note cards telling her story. So we try to use that story to raise awareness about that topic and our take on that story. So yeah, we have a high energy show with full-on video production in the background. Just try and, so we'll try that everyone in the audience has a good time while on the same page, try to, raise awareness for certain topics. So it's a full-on big show.
Since almost everyone is in quarantine from the coronavirus, do you think concerts and festivals will have the same impact as far as sales when it gets back out there, or do you think this may hurt it in the long run after all this?
I don't think it's going to hurt it in the long run. Maybe in the short run, because people are maybe a bit afraid of going to shows, once everything under brackets is cool again and people can go out. But in the long run, I don't think like any online shows or streaming and that sort of stuff replaces the experience of a concert. Because for myself, I didn't go to a show to listen to the same songs that I can hear on my laptop, on my phone all the time. I'm there to, enjoy the live experience of the band, to get the energy, to see the show, to spend time with my friends, to celebrate with those 50, 100, 1,000, whatever amount of people there are, to share the same vision. And I don't think that anything can take that away. And it might take a while. It might take a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, but hopefully, we will be out on the road sooner than later. But I don't think anything can replace that feeling, no matter in which music genre. So no, I don't think it's going to hurt it. I think it's probably people want that even more than before because they didn't have it for some months then.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you probably had a lot of these, but did you have a go-to album or a song when you were younger that just let you escape or made you realize things were going to be better or just be okay? Did you have that possibly?
I started off with a lot of Guns N' Roses. That's the first thing my dad showed me into and introduced me into the rock world. And Velvet Revolver back in 2000, 2001 when they came out first. One album that I still have actual visual memory of when I listen to that record is the first record by Three Doors Down. And specifically, I think the song is called Be Like That, which is on Three Doors Down's very first record. And I still have the memory of me, a 9 or 10-year-old, being on, the back seat of the car, kind of almost sleeping, and my dad is driving me back home from, I think it was a Velvet Revolver concert, and we listened to that record. So that song and that album has a very strong memory for me.
That's awesome. Wow. That's pretty cool, man. Folks, you want to get out and pick up Psycho Village's album Unstoppable via Pavement Entertainment. It's out right now. Dani, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy some merchandise, tour dates when everything gets back in gear and we can get out and start to go to shows again? How can they do that, good sir?
I mean, any online thing you can find, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our website, psychovillage.com, and all the social medias are usually facebook.com/psychovillage, instagram.com/psychovillageofficial. You'll just type in Psychovillage on Google or any of those platforms and you'll find it. Also on Facebook, we have a huge fan group that's represented by fans, for fans, which is called Psychovillage Fans The Unstoppables. So that's a good way to stay in touch with all the crazy people that like our band very much, luckily. And then if you want to stay in touch with us personally, you can always message us on any of those social media, so just send an email.
And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Yes, sir. Hey, everyone, this is Dani of Psycho Village, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour podcast and BODS Mayhem Hour. Please stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. Also, please check us out on our Facebook page. We have our podcast link, our YouTube link, and all sorts of stuff that we're out on now. iTunes, Apple Podcast, Podbean. We're all over the place. So check out all of our links. Also check out Psycho Village. Pick up their new album Unstoppable via Pavement Entertainment, which is out right now. So pick that up and support them. So Dani, I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.